Bienvenido and welcome. Hey, what's going on? What's going on this Monday morning? Monday morning. Hey, if you see by the title, we're going to talk about His.Panic, the description of the difference between Berber and Arab, and also LatinX, and what else did I mention? Anyway, you see about the description. So, let me start by saying that I'm having a wonderful experience. Every day I'm having a beautiful, wonderful experience, and I hope that you are also having that experience. I know that you are having that wonderful experience. I got to stop saying hope. I don't hope and I don't wish. I know what I know, okay? And what I don't know, I seek to know it, okay? So I know that you're having a wonderful experience out there, you know? And for the future, I hope those that's watching this will get a little more information and can reach out to, those His.Panic brothers and sisters. Enough of the games, man. Enough of the games, okay? And I'm about to give it to you raw. And the reason why I decided to do this because, I was watching the Queen of Sheba III, you know what I'm saying? Beautiful queen. And with the African Union and the works that's being done with the Echo 6 and the work, the ECOWAS and Echo 6 and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Beautiful, wonderful work. That's the African empire that's on the rise. I'm going to speak a little briefly about that. And so I was looking at the list of all the countries that are involved in this African empire that's rising. I didn't see Puerto Rico there. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? But then, this is to all my Boricuas out there and Dominicanos and not too many of the Cubans, because the Cuban is more up on it for some reason. And this is all for the island Jamaica. To all my brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and also in North America, also on the mainland. Listen, especially to those Boricuas out there in the island of Puerto Rico, you're not European. You are not Latin. No. Get it right. You're not European and you're not Latin. What do you think? And America don't care about you at all. They're trying to take your land. People, wake up. Okay? Wake up. Right? And take your ship, your state, and merge it with the mothership, which we call the motherland, which is Africa, the cradle of all civilizations. The chosen one. If you're chosen by God, God's going to put you in a place, using those narratives, in the best part of the earth. The best part. So you got South America, it's good, but look at the riches in Africa. Man. You cannot have a cell phone, a laptop, and dealing with this metaverse, right? The internet, okay? All the raw material is not taken from Africa. Or the lithium, and there's a list of raw material that's coming from that landmass. So let's get it together, okay? Now, a lot of, the conversation is that you have a lot of, His.Panic, again, saying that they're European. Oh, I'm Spaniard. But let me give you a brief history of Spain. That's African diaspora. Even from Roman times, right? Even some part of Italy, and definitely Sicily. It's an Africa diaspora. Just do the studies. Do the studies and look it up. So I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. Let me share my screen. Give me a second, y'all. We're going to go right into it. We are going to go right into it. Carajo, because this thing it's got me a little heated up here, man. It's got it's unbelievable. I just can't take it. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's do this, okay? Now, look at it. The genetic history of the Iberian Peninsula. For those of you who don't know, the Iberian Peninsula is that peninsula which is known as Spain and Portugal. Okay? That's the Iberian Peninsula. I got a lot of genetics from the Iberian Peninsula. And that's the reason why I started to get really, really learning about that ancestry. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at it, the ancestry of the modern Iberians, comprising of Spanish and Portuguese, is consistent with the geographical situation of the Iberian Peninsula in the southwest corner of Europe. It's at the southwest corner of Europe, but bear in mind, listen, as in the case of most of the rest of southern Europe, they're already labeled in Europe, and I'll let you know why, and you're going to read it here. The principal ancestral origin of the modern Iberians are early European farmers who arrived during the Neolithic, right? Yeah, you had the German Visigoth, and you had the the Gauls from France. The large predominance of the Y chromosome haplogroup R1b, common throughout Western Europe, is testimony to the consideration input of various waves of predominantly male in the Western steppe herders from the Pontic-Caspian steppe steeple known as the Bronze Age. Now, similar to the Sardinia, Iberia was shielded from settlement from the Bosporus or the Caucasus region by its western geographic location. It was separate and thus has a lower level of Western Asian and Middle Eastern admixture than Italy and the southern Balkan Peninsula. Okay? Most of which probably arrived during the historic rather than prehistoric times, okay, especially in the Roman period. Now we're gonna go over this. Now, except for the Malta and the Italian island of Sicily, most of the Iberian has higher level of North African admixture than is found in the rest of Europe. Okay, so they took it and they labeled it Europe, Western Europe, but look, it has a more higher level of North African, and we're going to speak about who are these North Africans admixture that is found in the rest of Europe. Now, you know, in places in Europe, in England, you have certain crests with the Blackamoors and Irish, you know, and even in Italy, you know, you had some Roman emperors that were of the Berber background that were born in North Africa. Yes, Roman emperors born in Northern Africa. And I'll give you his name in a little bit. But now, reading on from this, okay. Okay, so in entire islands, okay, so the North African admixture that is found in the rest of Europe, from the study follows that contribution of Northern African lineage to the entire male gene pool of Iberia. Continental Italy and Sicily can be estimated at 5.6% and 6%, you know, on respectively, which is largely ascribed to settlement during the Carthaginian and Islamic period. Who were the Carthaginians? You heard the story of Hannibal, right? That went into Italy to the doorstep and knocked at the door of Rome, right? Now, the African archipelago of the Canary Islands show a larger North African genetic footprint, okay, and from the Canary Islands. A lot of the people that came to the islands, Cuba, and a lot of people that came to the islands of Borinquen, which is Puerto Rico, and those islands were from the Canary Islands, more North African. One second. Sorry, I was really going in and I'm being disturbed. I should have put the sign in the door saying that I'm doing a podcast. Significant genetic differences are found among and even within Spain different regions, okay? So this is just telling us that these North Africans, ancestry in Iberia, in the Iberian Peninsula, African influence peaks in the southern and western regions of the peninsula, dropping considerably in the northeast, Catalonia and Aragon and the Basque region. Okay? Africa. Okay? And this can go back, and this during the Roman time, and what is it? Carthaginians were, again, Hannibal going down and mixing in with the Romans. That's why the Romans at the time was kind of, scared to send their military posts and the men's, the soldiers, to what they call Hispania, because they knew of the mixture of the Carthaginian and the Romans, and most of the men came back sort of like Hispanized, Hispanicized. You know what I'm saying? They came back speaking differently. They came back with the women. They married the women there, which in them days would be considered, which is which is not a good word to use, mulatto, because it comes from the word mulatto. It's a very racist term when you use the word mulatto. And so they had a problem with that. These women were beautiful women, mixture of Carthaginian and Roman. The children and the women, beautiful women. Carthaginian women were beautiful women. And so Rome was afraid to send troops out to Hispania, what they call Hispania at that time, because of the mixture, and also into Sicily, okay? I want to share another screen for you. Let me stop sharing. We're taking it back to the Roman times and the mixture and how Spain was still considered at that time, Iberia. This is before they call it Andalusia. This was Hispania for the Romans. There was a mixture of North Africans over there. You know what I'm saying? Those Carthaginians, Hannibal, and all those North African that's up there with the elephant that knocked at the door of Rome, was about to conquer Rome. Okay? Well, these tribes stood out there. You know what I'm saying? They were putting those Visigoth, German Visigoth, because you always had tribes from the north. The Gauls and the Visigoth, the six kings, what they call the Vikings, coming down. And they pushed them back. But then eventually those German Visigoth came more and more and more. And the Carthaginians, and they amalgamated with that area. This goes way back. Way back. You know what I'm saying? And then the newborns out of Uganda, traveling all the way back. The Neolithic people traveling all the way up into these areas. Anyway, let me read you something else. Okay. The history. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. Okay? Let me see. This is what I'm looking for. Let me share this here. Now, we're talking that time. Now let's fast forward a little bit over when we come to tribes coming out of North Africa, right? Into the Iberian Peninsula. Again, to retake the area. Take that area from those different tribes that were there. This is happening in Andalusia, right? Let me share this screen. Give me a second. Now, this is a history of the Berbers. Berbers are the indigenous people of Morocco, and Nigeria, and to a lesser extent, Libya and Tunisia. They are descendants of an ancient race that has been inhibited that has inhabited Morocco and much of the northern Africa since the Neolithic times. The origins of the Berbers are unclear. A number of waves of people, some from Western Europe, some from sub-Saharan Africa, and others from Northeast Africa, eventually settled in North Africa and made up most of its indigenous population. African still. Now, the Berbers entered Moroccan history towards the end of the second millennium BC, when they made initial contact with oasis dweller on the steppe, who may have been the remnants of the earlier savannah people. Now, the Phoenician traders who have penetrated the Western Mediterranean before the 12th century and set up depots of salt and ore along the coast and up the rivers of the territory, which is now known as Morocco. Later, Carthage developed commercial relationship, again, the Carthaginians, with the Berber tribes of the interior and paid them annual tribute to ensure their cooperation in the exploitation of raw materials. Remember, you got to trace the money back. You got to trace the raw material back. Berber tribesmen, Berber tribesmen were warlike reputation, resisted the spread of the Carthaginians and the Roman colonization before the Christian era. Now, these are the Berbers coming in, and resisting the spread of the Carthaginians and the Roman colonization. They struggled for more than a generation against the 7th century Arab invaders. Berbers are different from the Arabs, who spread Islam to North America by military conquest, mounted as jihads or holy wars. Berber is a foreign word. Berbers call themselves Imazigan, men of the land. Their language is totally unlike Arabic, the national language of Morocco and Algeria. So it's unlike Arabic. One reason the Jews have prospered in Morocco is that it has been a place where Berbers and Arabs shaped their history, and the multiculturalism have been fixture of everyday life at the law. So again, Berber, their language is totally unlike Arabic. These are the Berbers, North African tribes. We're talking about Hausa, Fulani, became Berbers traveling in a black tent throughout the Sahara Desert. These Berbers, known as the men of the land, the Amazican, traveling Berbers. These are the ones that went into Andalusia. They were Arabitized, yes, just like you got different tribes in North America that are Americanized. So you have many tribes at that time in Arab, with the spread of that religion of Islam, that became Arabitized. Berbers became Arabitized, just like the tribes here in America, the Native Americans and all the people from all these places have been Americanized or Europeanized. This is a battle of cultures. So when you deal with the Romans try to colonize and Romanized, but the Carthaginians fought back. They didn't want it. Now you got the Berbers fighting against the Arab. Kept a lot of their culture, but they became Arabitized. That's the reason why Hispanics speak Moorish Latin, a mixture of this Roman language, Latin, and a mixture of Arabic and words that are from the Berbers. A mixture of all of that to create what you call Basque and create all Castilian, Castellano, Aragon, all these different, That's the Castellano, that was a combination of the Castilian, the Aragon with the Berbers that went into and became Andalusia and set up Alhambra, set up Granada, Toledo. These are university centers So you say these Berbers were sub-Saharan. Also Mali, because they were building universities. They even went all the way up into Europe and civilizing, building sidewalks, creating lamps at night so people can walk at night. You know what I'm saying? Bath houses, irrigation, sewer drainage. The Berbers brought that. These North Africans brought that into the Iberian Peninsula. Okay? A very small amount of Latin were there. Very small amount. They don't want you. You know? This European empire already has fallen. You know, that's prophecy. And empire rises and empire fallen. This is the last of this empire that morphed out of the Roman. You got the Babylonian morphed into the Greek, and morphed into the Roman, into this European empire. It's gone. Now the chosen people with a chosen land, which you call the African empire, it's what's being spread out. Because they have to. China's going into Africa and trying to set themselves up into Africa. They're trying to say even that their ancestry comes back to Africa, which is true in a way. In Asia, you had what they call the Nagas. Who were the Nagas people? And the Nagas told the story of the people, the chosen people that will be taken away into a land that is not there, far away, and brought into this slavery and brought into North America. This is who we are. We're not Latin. We're not Latin. We only speak Moorish Latin, but we are a combination of Berbers, or many different combinations. Let me tell you, in Puerto Rico, you had Dutch coming in there, you had the Irish, you had Italian families, like the Palmieri, you had Dutch, you had English family. You can look at the last thing, you can see it. You had Jewish and Levittown, Levy. You know what I'm saying? So that's later on that mixture started to happen. But when you say, I'm Spaniard, well, if you're Spaniard, then you're Africa diaspora also, which is the cradle of all civilization. That landmass, which together with South America was combined. That was the southern part region. Then you had the North America. Then when you went into Europe, which is also a Moorish deity, what you just have to do, like I said, you just have to do the studies. You just have to do the studies. Let me see who's up in here. 1 second. Let me see what else I have for you. Listen, let me put something up here while I do this, so you guys can. Yeah. 1 second. Here you go. Please like the video and share the video. Okay? Like. Just give me a second while I look on here. So to say that you're Latin, like just LatinX, is to do a disservice. You're Moorish Latin. You're not totally Latin. You're Moorish Latin. Get it right. You're Africa diaspora. You are African diaspora. Get it right. Okay? They're trying to link you up into a fallen empire. It's fallen. I'm sorry to say that. This is not nothing to be so racist about. This is reality. This is natural nature. Empires rise and empires fall. And now that the empire that is getting a lot of influences and that are feeding the world is the African empire that's rising up. You got the African Union. And you have all these kingdoms are coming together and having the discussion even at the United Nations level. They send the ambassadors there, but Africa has its own union. Africa has its own conferences. And all those nations get together under the African Conference. You know, they just extend that over to the United Nations because they're very docile people. They're very caring and sharing. You know, we have been bombarded by a culture that has torn down the fabric of humanity. And we got to get it right. We got to get it correct. It's not to be racist and not to down, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's to set the record straight. That empire, the Roman, from the Babylonians, the Greek, and the Romans, you see the atrocity that they created. And the Arab empire also created an atrocity. Let's not forget them also. So now we got the African empire on the rise that are more into saving the planet. Saving the planet. More holistic and more into saving the planet. You know? And to my Puerto Ricanos out there, man, you got to wake up. You know, the government out there, you got to wake up. You're not Latin. Forget about that LatinX shit. You're not Latin. Why don't you say, well, the Moorish Latin is X? Why don't you say that? I'm sorry, it just doesn't resonate with me. You know? We speak a Moorish Latin. And then when you go into the some of the islands, you got Africans coming in, right? And you got the Tainos there. And then when I'm going to do a podcast about the Taino, we're just going to concentrate on the Iberian Peninsula. But the Taino, man, that's another one that's Africa diaspora. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I got the receipts for that. I could pull it up. We're going to pull it up. We just got to put the pieces together, you know what I'm saying? You really have to put those pieces together. That's what it's all about, when you put those pieces together. When you put those pieces together, man, it just creates truth. Because that's what truth is. You know, when you put those pieces together, it fits perfectly together. So now you're looking at genetic data. You're looking at historical data, right? Genetic data, and the mathematics adds up. It adds up. So I'm really, I'm telling you, I'm so disappointed on the island of Borinquen, and the people that's running this island, they think they're European. I'm glad they got that Rosillo out, but who they got in there now? You know what I'm saying? Bro, America doesn't want you. Trump showed that when he threw the toilet paper, the towel back at you to clean up your own mess. Then they were holding so much money that belonged to the island because, you know, when I was at NYU, I went to a seminar where Mari Bras spoke. Very intelligent man. He spoke about the gross national product of Puerto Rico was not, it's unfair that an island that produced, when the Hanes t-shirts was there, and even today's the pharmaceutical, the Hanes t-shirt, a lot of companies was in Puerto Rico, and they were manufacturing a lot, but they were printing on it, made in USA, instead of putting Puerto Rico, so Puerto Rico don't get any account for gross national product. And then if anything happens in Puerto Rico, they got to wait until America to act, because under the Jones Act, they can't get countries like in Africa who can feed the earth, the planet Earth. We got to wait for the Jones Act. You know what I'm saying? This atrocity to this day, they stealing your land. Once the hurricane comes in, the people still, they can't deal with it and they push out. Guess what? They come, and I'm going to say that, like I said, I'm not a racist. I practice right racism. You got to be proud. Like a pianist plays a piano, a race, you have to play your race. You got to be proud of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And just make sure that you're not hindering another race unless they're on the racist being detrimental and trying to come at you, then you got every right to defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have every right to defend yourself. You got every right to defend your land, that island. You know what I'm saying? You got every right to join in and be ahead of the game. The fourth industrial revolution, the African empire. We got ties to the African empire through Trinidad also. We got the Queen of Sheba III. There's so many things that they don't teach you about. They still want to colonize you. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be a state. Forget about that. You don't want to be independent. You want to continue on being a commonwealth. That means you share the wealth. But they give you, they taking more than what they're giving you. The electrical system in Puerto Rico, the power is it's crap. And you got these companies coming from America going bidding and coming in there and again stealing the money, stealing the resources to give you a crappy infrastructure. So Puerto Rico can't even discuss about infrastructure without having America. And let me tell you something about America. It's changing. It's changing. America separated itself from the European. It's not part of, I guess, the European Union. Or is it part of it? I got to look that up. But that was birth. It's a subdivision of what the European Union and the European Empire. America is the last whole. The last whole. But America was not only built by Europeans. America is built by Native Americans and also Hispanics. People of the Mali, genetics from Mali. I did my DNA and I show a lot of genetics from Mali. And the Millennium Navy Empire was coming to North America way before, in the 9th century, 10th century. Peace. For those watching, peace. So stop it. You're not Latin. LatinX? No, man. I looked at it, I was disgusted. They had a couple of, I was like disgusted. And it's, again, not to be racist, because remember, we come in all different shades and colors. And not to be racist at all. It's just truth is truth. And the thing is, we're going to be left behind. We're going to be destroyed. Puerto Rico's going to be destroyed because they worship too much the European mindset, which is destroy. It's gone. Just look at the United Nations. Just look at around you, world economy around you, United States. Look at the economy, the dollar bill. Just look around you. And you see the Lumi, which is the African Union, the African currency, is up on the rise. Because like I told you, you cannot have a laptop. You can't have a cell if those raw materials are not taken from Africa. They hold the raw materials. And then you got houses, people that are trying to steal that. The gold, the diamonds, the petroleum is in the Middle East, but in Africa, in the Sahara Desert, you know what I'm saying? The untapped resources that they had. And also where it's located on the longitude and the latitude is a hot spot, the equator. So all the power that could come out of there from the solar power. It's a cradle. It can feed the world. But again, it has to protect itself. You know, it's on the rise. The European are no longer that way of doing things. Slavery was abolished. That way of doing things is gone. Wake up. Why are you trying to hold on to something that is gone? Gone. My people in the islands, Caribbean, and even in North America, why are you trying to hold on to a system that is gone? If you want to change the system from within, you can do that. But I'm telling you now, no matter where you look genetically, historically, it's going to lead you back to Africa. No matter where you go. Native American side, Aboriginal side, even the European side, it's going to lead you back to Africa. You just got to go deep. You can look deep. Those waters, those streams, going to lead you back into Africa. That continent. So I'm very disappointed at Puerto Rico. I didn't find it on the list. I'm very disappointed at Puerto Rico. You know, the government, how it's being run over there is terrible, terrible. Their infrastructure, terrible. Americans don't want nothing to do with Puerto Rico. All they want to go over there and vacation and buy up the property. That's what they want to do. They want to get you out, all right, hit you with the Vaseline, all right, sterilize you, get you out of there, okay, and buy up the land. And buy up so they can create their vacation. Because remember, Puerto Rico, where it sits, that Bermuda Triangle where it sits, was known as Utla, was a vacation place in ancient time. And it still is to this day. Those caverns that are in there, those caves that are on those islands, the Yunque, those caves. I mean, come on, man. These islands are beautiful, even in Cuba. And I'm going to drop something about Cuba. I'm going to drop something about these islands, about the millennium coming in, and about Sabian. Man, this is getting to be so deep. And this in historical records. And I dropped something real quickly here. When Christopher Columbus went over and he wrote letters back to Spain, you know that. He wrote letters, some of the soldiers wrote letters, you know, some of his captain wrote letters, lieutenant, they wrote letters. And you still have these letters, these documentation that are held in Vatican City and is around the museum. These letters are out there. That people have been studying it, compiled it, and wrote books on it. So I got a lot of these books. You know what? At one time they called Cuba was known as Saba. S-A-B-A. Saba. Or Fava or Saba. Saba. And when they spoke to those Taino Indians, they were talking about the negros that came there and mixed in with them. Yeah. What do you think? Tainos were European looking? No. No. Their African feature and the texture of their hair was different too. You had different textures of hair of Tainos and skin colors because of that mixture of the Taino coming from the Orocons River in Brazil. And remember, all that South America, all those islands, the Mali, 2,000 ships. They were constantly coming over. Man, yo. This is our story 101, okay? So again, you're not Latin. That's just a very small portion of who you are, of the mixture. But remember, the Romans mixing with the Carthaginians who were North African. Then you got the Berbers going in there. Yeah, you had German Visigoth and you had you had come. But remember, a lot of these houses of Aragon or the Castilian houses where Isabel and Fernando were from, they didn't mix very well with people. They wanted to, when they were creating their house, their dynasty, the legacy, they married within each other. They didn't mix with Africans like that. But you see, the African overran them. And so created a civilization in Andalusia, in the Iberian Peninsula. Which I will also drop the Ibri people, the Ibri that traveled over, which is known as the Abraham, but it was really the Ibri people, or the Ibrahim, plural. Him is always plural in Semitic language, plural, him. You had the Ibrahim, and then when you go into the Andalusia Peninsula, you have the Ebro, what? River. So there's a mixture of people coming in to Andalusia. You know? And this shows in your genetics. Just do your, well, I don't, you know, if you want to do your DNA. I just did my DNA to find family, that's it. But then I started digging deep into it, and I've come to find out, wow, my family, most of the families have African blood. And then if they don't have, if it shows Iberian Peninsula, well, what do you think Iberian Peninsula is? That's African diaspora. Those are North American, those are Berbers who were Arabitized, but those are Berbers, North African, indigenous North African tribes. These people were very dark. North African tribes that went into Andalusia and created these civilizations. So stop the bullshit. Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to speak too much like that. Stop the crap, man. You know? So it just hurts me to say, like I say, and then, certain people say, oh yeah, Puerto Rico's gonna be destroyed because they're worshiping the devil. Puerto Rico's gonna be destroyed. I'm like, man, I love my island. I love my island. And I love my people. But my people gotta wake up. Gotta wake up. My people gotta wake up, man. You're not Europeans. Stop it. If you're gonna claim España, make sure you also say Moorish Latin. That's the language you speak, Moorish Latin. And because you speak Latin doesn't make you Latin. Because you speak English doesn't make you English. If you speak Japanese, it doesn't make you Japanese. You got to be born from it. So we only identify with Latin because part of the language that the Berbers, the Arabicized Berbers mixing, coming in contact with the Roman Empire. The Catholics and the Christians, the Roman Empire. And taught, the language that they learned. But genetically, when you look at the Hablo group, genetically, Africa. Berbers from North Africa and sub-Saharan, and Northern Africa, Africaya. Just do the research. That's why the Queen of Sheba III was saying that they reach out, the African Union reaches all the way out into the Iberian Peninsula because they know those are our people. Those are our people. This is an empire. Those are our people up there. And those people was brought over to this part of the land. These are our people. In Trinidad, in Jamaica, in Cuba, in Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, Haiti. These are our people. That's what the African nation's saying. These are our people. That was broken up, fractured by the European Empire. That empire, the European Empire, did its thing. I'm not doubting that. They did their thing. But look at what they done under those succession of empire. That's that one big empire. And then when you take it into the biblical, it says Babylon has fallen. And who are the chosen people? Well, you put the chosen people are the one who has a chosen land. Wake up. How can you be chosen if you don't have a chosen land? Doesn't make sense. So, I don't want to be here too long. But this is the first installment. Let me see what else I have for you. See what else I have for you here. Give me a second. I've been reading a lot. This is from Life Science. This is from Life Science. Science again. These articles that I kind of look over. I like Life Science. And check this out. Southern Europeans, more African than thought. They always got to put in the word European, Southern European. Okay? But they were more African than thought. This is Alhambra Palace in Granada in Spain. It was built between 889 and 1333 by the Moors, Muslim conquerors from North Africa. They were Arabicized Berbers. New evidence suggests that these Moors left their traces on genetics as well as their architecture and culture of Spain. Northern Europeans get a significant portion of the genetic ancestry from North Africa. New research suggests, yeah, right. They knew this from day one. But right now with the science is all being exposed. The findings are perhaps not surprising, given that Romans occupied North Africa and set up extensive trade routes in the region, and the Moors in North Africa ruled a medieval territory called Andalusia on the Iberian Peninsula, Andalusia. But the finding published today in June the 3rd in the journal Proceeding of the National Academy of Science suggests the impact of these connections went beyond culture and agriculture, and may explain why Southern Europeans have more genetic diversity than their northern counterparts. And this is also Sicily and the northern part of Italy. I mean, the southern part of Italy. You know, Italy also. You know, we're not Europeans, yo. Stop it. If you could say we're Southern European because of the European Empire, you know what I'm saying? Past study has shown that Southern Europeans such as Spaniards, Greeks, Italians, had more genetically variability than people from the Northern Europe. Other studies show that they had a small percentage of what looked like sub-Saharan ancestry. Huh. One drop of black blood makes you black, right? That's what they say. I don't know. Some argue that the genetic diversity came from the Moorish occupation of the Iberian Peninsula in the southwestern Europe, or the Roman contact with North African civilization as the Carthage around 2,000 years ago. So again, the Carthaginians. But of course, you know, they're always going to want to, if you really got to dig deep into it, of course they're going to try to write themselves in, you know what I'm saying? But the fact is that this is Africa diaspora. You know, when you deal with the Iberian Peninsula, Sicily, southern part of Italy, even to Greece, southern part of Greece, a lot of African genetics, North African genetics. And these were, again, indigenous people known as the Berbers. They travel in black tents throughout the Sub-Sahara, the desert and stuff. So when you look at whatever, you know, what's up, Elder? Latif, what's up? When you start looking into the different sections and saying, and you see this. So, you know, later on, yeah, of course, you had, like you go to Brazil, you got a lot of German ancestry. A lot of the Germans on the Third Reich went to Argentina and Brazil. And then in Puerto Rico, you got a lot of Dutch. You know, you got Italians and Germans that moved in later on. So, yeah, you have very small families. But they mixed into a larger pool of African diaspora. You know? They're going to always try to come in. African diaspora, they mix into that larger pool. Right? So, again, when they tell you, oh, yeah, I'm a Spaniard. Right? Yeah, well, Spaniard? Okay. You're African also. Look at the history of Spain. Then, you know what I'm saying? African diaspora, that's a cradle civilization. That's why, you know, I started doing this because I've been doing some research on this Queen of Sheba III, coming out of Trinidad, born in Trinidad, but who goes all the way back, who traces her genetics all the way back to the original Queen of Sheba, or Saba, the Sabaean. You know what I'm saying? And you also find the Sabaeans in ancient Kemet too. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to pull up some stuff later on another podcast of how the North Africans also in these Berbers were also in ancient Kemet. Shikshunk the First was a pharaoh that was of a Berber ancestry from North Africa, what they call Libya. You know, that's why Libya, under Gaddafi, he was leaning more to the African, because he knew the African Empire, the African Union. Malcolm X, the same thing. Instead of him going to a European country to try to get into the United, he went through an African country, try to get into the United Nations so he could debate and speak about the plight of the African American. Our people also. You know? I don't care if you're Shoshone or Yamasee or whatever tribe, you're still African diaspora. You can still trace it back into the Mali, you know, the Malian Navy empire that came under Abu Bakari II, Mansa Musa. That's a very huge empire from Mali. And if you look at your genetics, you go, oh, Papa Mali, I got 30-something% Mali. I could feel my ancestors speaking with me. You know? I could feel that. And from the 52% of the Iberian Peninsula, which is Berber, North African, sub-Saharan people of the Sahara Desert, sub-Saharan, the Black Tent, going into Andalusia, the Iberian Peninsula, and educating everybody out there genetically. I hear the voices of my ancestors of Mali. I hear also a small percentage of the Taino also. Puerto Rico, please wake up, man. Stop it, y'all. Stop it. Man, we got to do the youth. We got to do something about this freaking government over there in Puerto Rico. Got to do something, man. Because these people don't want you. All they want to do is take your land. They don't want you. Get it through your head, thick skull. They don't respect you. They don't want you. You have to become one with the other islands. You have to become one with Africa. It's the only way. It's the empire that's rising, that are more docile, more, for the planet, humanitarian. When you look at the conference, Echo 6, look at what they're doing. And those resources are there. You're going to be behind. You're going to get destroyed. You're going to get destroyed if you don't link up. Cuba did it when it linked up with Angola. Santo Domingo, or Dominican, I don't know if Santo Domingo is, or Haiti. I know Trinidad is. Well, I could pull it up. Let me see. Let me pull that up. Excuse me. Member states of the African Union. Here it is. Well, these are the African country itself. Member state of the African Union. Then I'm going to go into the, let me also pull this up. Let me see. Oh, man. Just give me a second. I'm trying to pull up. Maybe it's not there. My reading list. Let's pull up my bookmarks. In my bookmarks. Dang. Where is it? Where is it? No. Man, it's not it. It's about the Kiwichigo. Well, anyway, let me bring this up. Because I mentioned the African Union, I wanted just to bring up the states that are members of the African Union. The member states of the African Union are 55 sovereign states that have ratified or acceded to the constitutive act of the African Union to become member states of the African Union. Okay? From the original membership of 36 states, when the OAU was established in 1963, and then became the AU. So you have Algeria, Angola, Benin, Botswana. If you look down this list, Cameroon, on. But there is a list that I wanted to bring up of the different, man, where is it? Let me do this here. Sorry, y'all. Let me stop sharing so I could bring this up. Look up the Echo 6 home. Okay. Okay, here, I have it here. All right, let me bring this up. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. This is known as the economic community, the sixth region of Africa. States, nation, territory, and realms of the African diaspora. You know? The ECO 6 invests almost 250 billion worth of Lumi. Okay, Lumi, yeah, that's the currency, Lumi currency. That's deep. Now let's look at the member states. Okay, here we go. The economic community of the sixth region, the successful integration of the African diaspora is cornerstone in the aspiration of Africa in the 21st century. Both the OAU and the AU have called for diaspora reintegration within the continental economic framework. We're dealing with economics here. To these ends, the treaty establishing the economic community of states, nation, territory, and realms of the African diaspora sixth region was ratified by inaugurating members on August 1st of 2019, with full membership ratification being open to diverse states of diaspora, including but not limited. Look at this. You had the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Republic of Guyana, Republic of Suriname, Republic of Haiti, Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Now governments involved, government of Antigua and Barbados, government of African diaspora, government of Bahamas, Barbados, Cayman Island, Guadalupe, Grenada, Jamaica, Martinique, Montserrat, St. Lucia, on and on, Turks and Caicos. You know, you have territory and realms of the Calimbos of Brazil, San Basilio de Palenque in Colombia, Motown Maroons in Jamaica, Charlestown Maroons in Jamaica, Scott Hall Cushite Maroons in Jamaica, Sovereign State of Acambon, and Maroons of Suriname. I have the treaty, I downloaded the treaty, but the most important thing I'm trying to tell you is that this is an economic forum for African diaspora. And I'm like, man, and this in 2019 was established, and I'm telling you, they're reaching out. They're reaching out. ECO 6 Kings, African diaspora together. The royal houses. These are the Maroons they were in Jamaica. Jamaica is no joke, man. And I think a lot of this is because of Marcus Garvey. Remember Pan-Africanism? You know, so there was ahead of a lot of things. But that's what I'm saying. You know, I'm so disappointed at islands like Puerto Rico. And Cuba made the connections to Angola, but I guess as time goes by, the empire gets stronger. And, you know, I'm so disappointed. You know, it's like, how we're going to make that shift? You know what I'm saying? Because, again, there's a world economy reset. You know, this empire, it's done. It's done. I always said it, we're in a gridlock. You know what I'm saying? In a gridlock, right? You're stuck in traffic. You don't see that ahead of you. There's an accident. Something happened ahead of you. And that's what's happening, is that we're caught up in this time warp that the empire has fallen. The European empire is gone. They don't have that clout no more. It's just a lot of facade and acting going on. But they don't have that clout anymore. They got to depend a lot of times even on China. China's that sleeping empire. It's not going to rise. It's going to try to rise again, but it's going to get knocked down. They need the cradle of it all. They need Africa. But now those houses are strong now. They see it and they're strong. And they know they can't touch that continent, because if they do, you might as well destroy the planet. You might destroy it. That's it. Kiss your butt goodbye, and no one's going to survive at all. You know, maybe that's why they try to put their space stations out there and whatever. You know, I think they're just in contact with. They're trying to put a blanket over the communication coming from the Galactical Confederation. But right now they got radio waves. This might seem a little out there for a lot of people, you know. But when you deal with science and you look at some of the articles and you deal with science and you deal with the science of waves and frequencies and radio waves, you know, these satellites out there, you know, and looking at the vast spaces of the different star systems, it's a reality, right? You see the stars when you look up. It's a reality. Well, you got scientists out there, you know, and they are tuning into radio frequencies that are coming from the center of the galaxy. Who's sending these radio frequencies? That's what I'm saying. We're a chosen people. We're given the chosen land, chosen people for the future of this planet. And you just have to align yourself with it. Accept it. Accept it because it's reality. So again, I'm reaching out to my sisters and brothers from the islands, Caribbean. You know, look at what Jamaica, you know, that's how I like Abisu Campo used to spend time in Haiti and used to spend time in Jamaica because he knew, you know, he was studying a lot about the revolution in Haiti, about those people, and he was studying and he knew about the Mali, you know, he was very much into history. You know what I'm saying? So he knew about the Mali Navy and that civilization, the empire, and the effects and the genetic influences and the cultural influences, you know what I'm saying, and the language and everything. And he knew that. Very intelligent man, you know. One of the top in Harvard University, one of the top, valedictorian. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't want him to speak as a valedictorian because of his skin color. He was moreno. He was dark skin, brother. So they didn't want him to speak because they consider him to be a Negro. You know what I'm saying? You know? But spend time in Haiti, spend time in Jamaica. Right now, the Confederation Taino people is in Jamaica, very strong, and in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? We have a strong story. Actual historical facts. Our historical facts. That's the one for you. Our historical facts are very, very strong. And we can link it all the way back into them. Would you say the mothership is the motherland? That's the mothership. That's that one state. All those sovereign states coming together that forms a mothership. The state is like a ship. You got to move it. Right? Well, those are little shams. The mothership is all of it combined. That's the Galactical Confederation combined on this planet. When that moves, you feel it all. All of the little states gonna feel it. And you gotta you gotta align yourself to it. You gotta align yourself to it. It's strong. So again, you know, don't get me wrong. I really don't care. But this is not a racist thing or anything. But I'm just like, you know, beginning to see for what it is and how people navigate in their life and the stuff they want to propagate amongst themselves, and they want to lie to themselves. They fracturalize. They want to lie to themselves. They don't live in reality, you know. Because if you're Italian and you have a lot of Moorish blood inside you. You're North American, North African, you know, a lot of Greek too, Albanian Peninsula, Sicily. It's African diaspora. Be real. You know what I'm saying? And I know sometimes you know, the European Empire, you know, was strong at one time. That ego, that's the ego. the phoenix and the eagle was rising and had his eyes on everyone and was very, very strong. Okay. See that eagle up here? That comes back from ancient Kemet. Very strong, strong bird. Fowl. Strong bird. Right? But that goes all the way back into Africa. You know? Back into Africa. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Peace and blessing to everyone. I'm having your help. And, you know, again, I appreciate all the flavors of this earth. Let me tell you. But most important, man, truth is truth. Can't change it. Truth is truth. You know, so when you start digging in and you start putting those pieces together to fit perfectly, neatly in this puzzle, and you get to arrive at the truth, and the truth is truth. And you're going to know what you know. You know what I'm saying? And you can prove it. You can prove it. You can bring out scientific data. You can bring out our historical data. You can bring it all out. And historical data also. Because they put it down. They put it down. They wrote it down also. It's in their library, in their lies buried. It's in there. It's in their archives. They kept the records. And it's out. The record's been revealed. This is revelation time, right? The reveal. You know what I'm saying? And so, truth is truth, man. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. But I'm letting you all know right now that the creator of all civilization on this planet Earth comes from there, Africa. Newborns of Uganda, the part with South African Uganda, in that part, the Lake Victoria, in that part right there was the cradle of civilization, the cradle of humanity. And then it spread out all over. And there are those that hold true to that. You know? No matter where you are. You're in the Iberian Peninsula, you have to recognize the truth. Right? You got to acknowledge the Berbers. You got to acknowledge that they were North Africa. They were indigenous people of North Africa. They were Africans. Ugandas. Tahites. That traveled into those sections of sub-Sahara section. Traveled into India. Traveled into China. Traveled to Japan. Traveled all over because there's accounts of it. There are accounts of it. Just gotta. Some people just don't want to accept it, but hey, because you don't accept something doesn't mean that it's not true. You know that. Because you don't want to accept it doesn't mean that it's not true. You know what I'm saying? I prefer to be sure. I prefer to be truthful and to be sure than to be living in a lie. Because that's fractual lies. And you lying to yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to do shadow work. You got to enlighten yourself. And the only way you can do that is by sparking it with light. And then you enlighten from within. But you got to do that shadow work. You got to take that doctrine and dogma and you got to tear it apart. And you got to look at it really good. And then you got to connect to the source. Then you got to look at those lies. And you got to put those pieces together so you can get truth. So that you know what you know. And you prove what you know. You can prove what you know. You don't have belief, but you cannot prove belief. It's just unprovable. Because it's fractalized. You can't, you put the pieces together. And that's what we're doing here, okay? So again, to all those, my sisters and brothers from the Caribbean, especially in Puerto Rico, this is for you. And all those so-called LatinX. I mean, it's a movement, and it's an economical movement that you think that you're going to gain this and that, but let me tell you something. You ain't fooling us. And the reason why I got on that LatinX site and everything was free. It was a podcast event, and I was disgusted. I was like, even though I said, man, I got people in my family look like that, but where is your acknowledgement and reverence, okay, and your connection back to the motherland or the mothership, the motherland? You got to connect back, because if not, you're going to be destroyed, man. And I hate to see that. I hate to see that. I was able to tie my genetics back into Africa, which I'm going to do a line of work to my legacy, a line of work for my family, so we can tie back. Anyway, peace and blessing. I'm out. Let me just play you this one more time. And then I'm out.
Ya yo me curé, ya yo me curé. Ya yo me curé, ya yo me curé. Ya yo me curé.
I just got, before I go, I just want to give a shout out, man. I'm sorry I wasn't watching. K Solo Rivera, man. And I got Rivera in my family, brother. Amen. Peace and blessing to you, my brother. K Solo, that's a real of the real, man. Reminds me of the Boogie Down Bronx, man. The real of the real. And my Sachet Ray, man. Beloved, thank you very much. And for those of you who are watching, man, peace and blessing. My elder, Frankie Latif, I respect, I call it Latif, my elder Mukdal Latif. And my cousin, Virgilio Jr., what's up? And Babalao. I wonder who this is. I think, I don't know if it's a brother from Orlando, or probably a brother from overseas. But anyway, peace and blessing to you all, man. Peace.